Most people are familiar with limestone caves, but relatively few cavers have experienced caving in gypsum. This presentation introduces typical gyp caves found in western Oklahoma. Gypsum caves are different. While gypsum formed this spectacular selenite crystal, it also yields a lot of small, muddy, featureless, disgusting crawly holes, leading many Oklahoma cavers to believe they've been gypped again. Out of an estimated 500 gypsum caves in Oklahoma, 80% are under 1,000 feet in length. This slideshow has been provided to the National Speleological Society by members of the Central Oklahoma Grotto. The three brown patches shown on the map are the major areas of gypsum cave development in western Oklahoma. Gypsum as a resource is mined for the production of plaster of Paris, drywall, insulation, and other commercial products. Red arrow number 1 locates the Cimarron Gypsum Hills, which have been exposed by the cutting action of the Cimarron River and its tributaries. Arrow number 2 points to the Weatherford Gypsum Hills, while arrow number 3 indicates the Mangum Gypsum Hills.
Our slide tour of Gyp Caves begins in the Blaine Formation of Cimarron Gypsum Country at Alabaster Cavern State Park. These rugged areas of gypsum karst are known as the breaks. The white gypsum consists of several members interbedded with red shales and stringers of dolomite. One of the many sinks that formed in the Medicine Lodge member is seen in the foreground. Above this member and separated by red shale is the Nescatunga gypsum. Most caves in this area are formed in these two members. Alabaster Caverns is the only commercial gyp cave in the country, along with 5 undeveloped smaller caves. Shown here is the main entrance to the cavern, which leads to 2,300 feet of tourist trail. Alabaster Caverns is primarily developed in the Medicine Lodge member of the Blaine Formation. The large entrance room has collapsed upwards through about 10 feet of interbedded shale to the base of the Nescatunga gypsum member. The cave profile shows alabaster's development in the 3 gypsum members in this area. Cavern development occurred at the water table perched at the top of the flower pot shale and immediately below the Medicine Lodge gypsum. A map of the caverns shows the Vado Stream passage development typical of many Oklahoma gypsum caves. The large entrance room leads downward nearly 40 feet and winds through large blocks of breakdown. The cave temperature varies from 52 to 58 degrees Fahrenheit and varies enough in humidity to allow occasional growth of epsomite needles on the concrete stairs along the trail. Gypsum consists of calcium sulfate combined with water and exists in several forms. Alabaster Caverns has good exposures of the 3 types of gypsum bedrock. Here we see selenite consisting of large transparent crystals of gypsum backlit by the commercial lighting. Typical bedrock, shown in the gun barrel, consists of coarsely crystalline gypsum that has been finely scalped by the rapidly moving stream. The third form of gypsum, fine-grained alabaster, is best exhibited in the last third of the main passage. The small scallops in the wall reveal the direction of stream flow. The lamp is pointing upstream. Normally white, alabaster may be stained red or black by various minerals, but its chemical form remains the same. Near the middle of the cave, a series of domes cuts through the flower pot shale into the overlying Nescatunga gypsum. The ceiling channel intersecting Echo Dome shows the level of initial solution in the Medicine Lodge. Another dome appears to be capped by a layer of resistant dolomite. The last third of the cave consists of large stream passage sculpted through the fine white alabaster. The area near the visitor's exit was once stocked with civil defense provisions, which has since been removed at the park's request.
Cave, with nearly 6,000 feet of passage, is another Woodward County cave with several unusual features. The eastern entrances contribute intake water which flows through the cave and empties into a deep surface canyon to the west. The surface topography above the eastern portion of the cave demonstrates the typical gypsum karst, punctuated with numerous sinkholes, which open into subsurface drainages. The foliage to the left of the cavers are treetops from the deep sylvan pit entrance. At the bottom of the 40-foot pit, the main entrance to Pearl is seen directly behind the lower caver. Most of the 2,000 feet of main passage is of comfortable walking height, 10 to 15 feet in diameter. Occasional breakdown is interspersed throughout. The deeply incised paleo stream channel in the ceiling is visible through much of the main passage. A close-up of the ceiling channel reveals concentric banding, possibly indicating annual cyclic deposition in the Permian seas of 250 million years ago. The gray color of the gypsum exposed in the cave contrasts with the white of the weathered surface outcrops. Anhydrite, literally without water, is gypsum without its two water molecules. Here, portions of the cave ceiling are rapidly exfoliating where the anhydrite is altering to gypsum by absorbing water. The resulting volumetric expansion flakes layers of gypsum from the ceiling. Veins of selenite are embedded in the cave wall in several areas throughout Pearl. This primary form of selenite contrasts with this secondary deposition of selenite blades, which formed in a water-filled basin which has since broken and drained. In the same area, large clusters of Myotis vellifer congregate. A lighter in the lower center of the picture provides scale. The lamplight of a young caver glows through a translucent selenite pendant. Because of the narrow constriction leading to this room, only slim cavers can enter. All others are gypped again. It appears that this chamber of pendants was formed as phreatic solution sculpted the massive selenite crystals in the ceiling, a process being continued by present-day water seepage. Though hard in appearance, these pendants are so delicate they could be scratched by a fingernail. All forms of gypsum have a hardness of 2 and must be treated with care. Secondary deposits of calcite are also found in gypsum caves. Explorers were surprised to find this splash pool of cave pearls, for which the cave is named. This collection contains pearls up to 1/2 inch in diameter. Around and above the pearls, the wall is encrusted with colorful calcite grapes. Currently forming cave pearls are washing out from a 3-inch high passage above the grapes. The boxwork entrance was named for these calcite-filled fractures, left standing in relief when the gypsum was eroded from around them. A slime mold forms an intricate dendritic pattern across the surface of a quiet pool. As the pool recedes, the mold is left high and dry. Tiger salamanders are usually found in damp areas, either near the main stream passages or where water seeps through crevices. Axolotls, the larval form, live in pools and streams.
Further to the southeast, the Cimarron Gypsum Hills host one of the state's largest bat caves, Vickery Bat. At the entrance to Vickery Bat, the Nescatunga gypsum is nearly 50 feet thick. Above the entrance, a 10-foot thick interbedded shale is then capped by 15 feet of Shimer gypsum. If you look closely, you can see the first wave of bats as they emerge well before sunset. The Mexican freetail uses Vickery Bat Cave as a maternity roost. They migrate to Mexico and southern Texas in October and return in late May or June. In the summer months, 1.5 to 2 million Mexican freetail bats pour from the cave each evening in a spectacular bat flight lasting from 45 minutes to an hour. Several albino bats have been sighted during this flight. Beneath the roost of these guano bats are huge deposits of ammonia-rich guano, which have been previously mined for fertilizer. Entry without a face mask or respirator is not recommended. Gypsum is an unstable rock. Here, the entrance to nearby Vickery Waterfall Cave is seen as it appeared in November 1983. Note the large overhanging gypsum block. 3 months later, cavers had difficulty locating the familiar entrance, which was now blocked by fresh rockfall. Handholds and footholds can also fall away without warning. Extreme caution must be used when climbing on gypsum, and every potential hold must be tested. Among gypped cavers, portable handholds are common. Inside the cave, a 7-foot waterfall is capped by calcite flowstone and underlain by bat bait baker. Not quite the champagne of waters, in fact, not to be drunk at all, gyp water is an excellent laxative.
Lost Lake Cave is unusual in that it has only 2 entrances, one inflow and one outflow. The cave is also unusual in its double loop configuration. One side of each loop is the current water path, the other an overflow route. The cave's water supply comes solely from surface runoff. The canyon entrance to Lost Lake is a 10-foot leaf-packed crawl to the main passage. The safety practice of rock throwing to check for rattlesnakes may someday completely fill this entrance. In the entrance room of Lost Lake Cave, water cascades into a waist-deep pool. When conditions are optimal, half-inch long epsomite crystals have been seen on the right bank for about 25 feet. The walls beneath the falls are encrusted with calcite speleothems. The source of the carbonates is uncertain, but could be from thin stringers of overlying dolomite or limestone. Masses of selenite crystals are common in Lost Lake Cave. In one area, a solid wall of selenite extends for 40 feet. The cave is free of litter and has seen little vandalism to date. When Lost Lake Cave was recently rediscovered, the explorers found this unique crystal of selenite hidden from view in a small alcove. The selenite cleavage planes are delicately highlighted by lines of white gypsum. Former water levels are shown by the deposits of calcite rafts on the mud banks above the stream. Rafts are still forming on the surface of the water at the caver's feet. Here in Winter Wonderland, snowflake deposits of rafts cover the floor up to a half-inch thick.
In another Cimarron Hills cave, a small room affords an excellent opportunity to view numerous gypsum speleothems. These massive gypsum stalactites were deposited by evaporation of gypsum-saturated groundwater. Smaller gypsum stalactites, as well as stalagmites, decorate the edges of the room in striking contrast to the darker gyp coral. Unlike carbonate speleothems, sulfate deposition does not rely on carbon dioxide loss to trigger precipitation. White gypsum flowstone sprouts tiny soda straws. Gyp soda straws are rare and have never been seen over 4 inches in length. These are about 1 to 2 inches long. Below the soda straws, breakdown boulders are completely obscured from view by popcorn and coral from the splatter of gyp-rich water. Oklahoma gypsum caves are notably lacking in gypsum flowers and needles. Gypped again. No, this caver has not lost his head. This is the skull of a black bear found in the large entrance room along with the ancient remains of an Indian campfire. The black bear has not roamed the Cimarron Gypsum Hills for several hundred years.
A second major area of cave development occurs in the Cloud Chief Formation of the Weatherford Gypsum Hills, Custer, and Washita counties. The Corn Caves, located near Corn, Oklahoma, are well-known weekend caves for local people. Directions to the caves were publicly posted in the town square for many years, until they became so weather-beaten they were removed. Numerous cave entrances are found along the sloping cliffs of Gyp Creek, along with diamondback rattlesnakes. Though not normally frequenters of caves, snakes are found in entrances both in summer and winter. Reptiles use the relative coolness of the cave entrances during the summer heat to regulate their internal body temperatures and keep from overheating. In the winter, they use the relative warmth of cave entrances for hibernation sites. Whatever the time of year, it's caver beware near an entrance. The typically weathered appearance of exposed gypsum attests to the soft nature of the mineral with its sharp edges and smooth, worn sides. The downcutting of Gyp Creek has exposed numerous caves in the Cloud Chief Gypsum Formation. Here, this breakdown sentinel guards the Toltec entrance to Chamber Pot Cave, part of the Gyp Falls cave system. Immediately inside this entrance, the train tunnel passage shows the striated brown and white gypsum typical of the Weatherford Hills gypsum. The double barrel passage in Gun Barrel Cave shows the solutional remnant between two parallel tunnels. The right-hand tunnel is the preferred route for humans. Sparse clusters of the cave bat, Myotis velifer, cling to the ceiling of a narrow vadose passage. Cave myotis are found in clusters ranging in number from a few to several thousand. When hibernating, the clusters are tightly packed. As activity increases during the summer months, the colonies are less dense. At Pigeon Pass, this cave system has been truncated into two separate caves, Gyp Falls and Gun Barrel. Similar collapses occur frequently in Oklahoma gypsum due to the shallow depth of the caves and the soft overlying rock. Explorers entering the pass are frequently startled by an explosion of pigeons emerging from their roost in the twilight zone. These cavers are crouching behind 3.5-foot deep rimstone dams, which crowd the entire length of rimcorn passage of Gyp Falls Cave. The gypsum floor is more easily eroded than the calcite dams. Water has cut a path under the rimstone dams, leaving them high and dry. Solutional enlargement along joints is typical of the series of tunnel caves in the Gyp Creek drainage. Some, like this one, are short and drain water to the creek only during heavy rains. These are favored by livestock as a place to cool off in hot weather. Gyp Creek itself runs through other, longer tunnel caves. The blue-green water may look inviting on a hot summer day, but the stench tells you that the livestock beat you to it. These picturesque tunnels are fragments of what was once a much longer continuous cave passage, now intersected by windows and pit collapses. These breaches have given Oklahoma a greater number of caves, but shorter ones. Gypped again.
The third major area of gypsum caves is in the southwest corner of Oklahoma. This extensive area of nearly flat-lying gypsum is called the Mangum Gypsum Hills. It consists of approximately 50 feet of gypsum with thin stringers of dolomite and red shales. These gypsum members are equivalent to the members of the Blaine Formation farther north in the Cimarron Gypsum Hills. With over 50 entrances and more than 6 miles of surveyed passage to date, Jester Cave is currently the longest gypsum cave in the free world. Jester is unusual among gypsum caves for its thousands of feet of unbreached passage, perhaps due to the greater amount of overburden. Legend has it that Jesse James used the south entrance of Jester as a hideout. The window entrance in the background was once a dome where Frank and Jesse are said to have watered their horses. Their names and the date 1871 are carved into a rock near the window. Going north from here, nearly half of the 7,400 feet of main passage is easy walking. The other half isn't. The backbreaker height of much of the passage makes everyone look for whatever standing room they can find. More typical of Jester is the 4+ miles of side passages, many of which are crawls. This tributary spring has dissolved a long, low tube leaving a case-hardened joint as a solutional remnant. This large block of breakdown is gradually being sculpted into King Kong's arrowhead by the main passage stream. Though pale in appearance, the black bullheads found throughout Jester's main passage pools are not true troglobites and regain pigmentation upon exposure to sunlight. These catfish are most likely accidentals from an upstream farm pond that was breached. Jester cave lobster, also known as crayfish, aggressively protect their territory. These crayfish are frequently seen wherever there is an adequate water supply. The Crawdad Hatchery passage was named for the hundreds of newly hatched crayfish swarming in its pool. Some grow to 6 inches in length. These rows of calcite rimstone dams have formed roughly parallel to the walls, lining the passage for several hundred feet. Most rimstone dams develop perpendicular to water flow. This unusual process continues today in the northern end of the cave. In the upper levels of the Jester system, cave popcorn concentrates on the ceiling at right-angled turns. This may result from air turbulence or from increased surface seepage along intersecting joints. Discovered in April 1985, this speleothem was the first known occurrence of gypsum rims in a gypsum cave. These delicate eggshell-like structures are up to 4 inches in diameter. They have formed by warm, moist air blowing through a narrow constriction into a cooler, drier room. The moist air has dissolved the gypsum wall rock and redeposited the gypsum on the outer edge of the rim. The perennial stream through Jester's main passage helps support a variety of abundant cave life. This species of leopard frog, the plains leopard frog, is commonly found throughout the cave. Cave crickets are also common, with the largest concentrations near entrances. Finding an abundance of crickets in an area has often prompted an explorer to seek out the inevitable entrance they indicate. This is not always successful, as what crickets may consider an entrance is not necessarily humanly passable.
The fully cave-adapted animal, the troglobite, is never found in Oklahoma gypsum caves. Gypped again! Gypsum caves are too short-lived to allow enough time for species to change. But there are many troglozines, creatures which habitually enter caves but must return to the surface from time to time. Troglozines include bats, crickets, frogs, raccoons, and Homo sub-sapiens, our photographers, who must regularly surface for pizza and beer.
All compositions written, arranged, and performed by Michael Hedges on Windham Hill Records, published by Naked Ear Music. Dave and Becky Yagnow's vocal coach, Sharon Kowalski. Tape recording and editing by Gary Kowalski. Original concept by Bruce Becker.